So I've recently had some trouble with my MaxxAir Vent Fan. The control panel went out on it, and after doing a little research, I figured out a really quick and easy fix for it. I did a little video about that, and there seemed to be a bit of confusion about that. So I just thought I'd make another video here because, one, I want to clear up a little bit of the confusion, and two, I am hopefully going to have a proper long-term fix and solution for this. You can see it's running now, and I've been using it with my little quick fix, but I have a much better fix now, at least I think. So the quick fix that I came up with before was to use a little PWM motor controller that I have had, and I've been keeping this around just for this scenario. If you look online, you'll find that seems to be fairly common for the control panels to go out on these MaxxAir fans. It's just something that happens. And so with that kind of in the back of my mind, I wanted a backup system. Now, this makes a really good backup, I think, and people were getting after me about why would I want to use anything but this. If this is working, just keep using this. Well, there's two issues with this. One is just a simple little thing. These are the wires that come from the control and go to the fan. Now, the fan is reversible, and the only way for me to reverse the fan right now is to switch these wires around. And quite a few people told me, why don't you just put a switch in between this so that I could just switch it and reverse the direction of the fan. That would make the fan work the way it used to work with the old original control panel. I have a little issue with that not because I don't want to wire in a switch. That would be really easy. Could wire in a switch, it'd be easy, cost a few dollars, and take a few minutes. My real problem here is this motor controller. Now, I mentioned this, and I think it's my fault I didn't mention this enough. I should have repeated this 2, 3, 4 times because it seemed to go over everybody's head. This is a really poor quality motor controller. There's some problems with the board. The board has, I didn't mention this, but the board has some cracks in the soldering on the circuit board. And a kind of a bigger problem is that if you handle this a little bit too aggressively, the box itself will short out the wires on the back. And now that's not a big problem. It just blows the fuse, and you replace the fuse and go back about your business, but I don't like that. I also don't like the fact that there are some broken soldering connections on the board itself. And now, I did think about fixing the case, which is absolutely possible, right? I could fix the case and keep it from shorting out. I could also buy a soldering iron and resolder the broken soldering connections. They're not a big problem except when the unit starts to get warm. So on warm days, the unit starts to malfunction a little bit. Those broken solder points start to lose connection a little bit. But I really didn't think that was a great way to go, because by the time I buy a soldering iron, buy a new switch to wire up there, I could buy a whole new motor control. This motor control actually has another problem. This potentiometer here that controls the speed of the fan doesn't work so well at low speed. And I'm not sure if that's the potentiometer is the problem or if it's another problem in the circuitry of this. But in my mind, those are too many problems to deal with. This makes a great backup. It'll get me by for a few days or a few weeks if I need it in the future. But this is a backup as far as I'm concerned. And I am going to use a new motor controller that I just ordered and received. This was less than $15. I think it was about $13. And there were quite a few to choose from on Amazon from different sellers. This one has some features on it that the old one doesn't have. in that it has some tabs on it, which will make it easy for me to mount this so it's not sliding around like this one is. And this one has the speed control here on it, and it also has a switch which turns the unit on and off, and has a direction, so you can either pull air in or push air out according to which way the switch is positioned. So what I need to do is get this wired up, and it should be pretty simple. Everything is right on the front here of this. Some people that bought from this particular seller, and I noticed it all over on Amazon, were saying that this didn't come with instructions in the box. Well, the instructions are on it. It's pretty simple here. It's got a power, and this goes to the fan motor. It doesn't get much more simple than that, and it's right here on the front. I have decided to buy a wall plate. It's just a blank wall plate. So I'm going to cut some holes to put both of the switches in, mount both the switches into this wall plate, and then to kind of keep them stable, I decided to buy just a electrical box, and this is just stuff I got at Home Depot. The idea is this will give me some mounting points that I can just screw this to the plywood and keep that stable, and then once I've got switches mounted onto the plate will get screwed onto the front of the box, and then that'll keep it nice and stable. So that's what I got to do now. I'm going to pull out my tools and get to modifying this and getting it in there. Should just be a couple of minute job. First step, and the thing I forgot to do last time, is to pull the fuse so that the wiring that's going to the controller and the wiring that we're working with isn't live. So to make this job a little bit easier, I took the box and I just cut the back off of it with my skill saw. And I don't really need this to be weather tight or anything, so just cutting the back off of it will make the installation much easier. And then I needed I think it's a 1/4 inch hole for the little potentiometer, the little turn dial. So I drilled that already, and then now I'm working my way to cut the little rectangular opening for the switch. And I'm just doing that with my pocket knife because it's all I've got. Okay, I've got the initial cut on the plate, and I'm going to have to come back in here and just fine tune it. I think it's a little bit small for the switch. Now, the one thing about this motor control is the way they have it wired up, you can't get the switch in place unless you either cut the wires like I just did or take the whole thing apart. And I think they're soldered inside here, so since I don't have a soldering iron, I figured I'd just do it the easy way here and cut the wires. So now that I've got it cut, I can get the wire, or I can get the switch in the plate to see how much I need to adjust. Yeah, I've got a little more to trim out there to get that to fit in. And then once I get this fit, I can reattach the wires and then get the whole thing attached. Well, I didn't do a very neat job of cutting that out, but it's all right. It looks okay. Actually, it looks much better on camera. In person, you can tell it's a little jagged. I didn't get it quite square. Anyway, it's good enough. It's good and solid. And luckily, I had some butt connectors that were the right size for this wire, so I've got this all wired back up. Now I just need to get the box installed and finish the wiring. Well, I've got a little wiring cleanup here to do, but the question right now is, will this work? So I'm going to put the fuse back in. Nothing's happened. That's a good sign. And she works. Anyway, it works. I've got an easy way to switch whether it's pulling air in or pushing air out. That's what I wanted. And this control seems to work quite a bit better than the old control. This potentiometer for adjusting the speed. So that's good. So just lastly here, I just wanted to go over one thing that caused some confusion from my last video, and that is, yes, I absolutely could have bought a new control panel for the MaxxAir. I could have ordered one from MaxxAir, or I could have ordered one from a bunch of other places. Regular price seems to be about $100 for this model of MaxxAir fan. I did find one online for about $70. But buying this control, buying the box and the switch plate cover, cost me about 20 bucks. Why spend more money when this works just as well as the original would, except that this works better, I think. This model of MaxxAir has 10 speed settings, and you access those speed settings by pressing a button one time to go up and down the speeds. With this type, you just turn the dial. And so this means you've got infinite speed settings instead of just the 10 speed settings that are on the MaxxAir. Also, you don't have to push a button to go through all 10 settings. You can just turn the dial. And it's actually really easy to tell where you're at by just looking at where the dial is. It's off here, there it's on high. It makes it really easy, and I think it makes it a lot more user-friendly. So spending less money actually improves the quality of the MaxxAir, at least as far as I'm concerned. You want to buy a $100 control or a $70 control, that's up to you. But like I said, I like this option. I think it just works out better all the way around. I think that covers all the confusion and all the changes. And hopefully it does anyway. I'm always going to take the cheaper option if I can do it. And that's kind of what I think most of us should do, especially when the outcome is better like this. So thanks for watching. I really appreciate it.